The time is just gone 9:58 as we head towards closure this morning, and I'm looking forward to this interview. Shafinaaz Hassim, a literary genius, for want of a better term. She's on a poetic and a literary trip through Istanbul and Konya and other parts of Turkiye this week, and we're going live across now to be joined by Shafinaaz. Shafinaaz, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the show, and I'm sure this is a very, very exciting trip that you are enjoying.
Walaikum salam, Brother Inayat, and always wonderful to be on your show. I think that we get to travel and share again after 2 years. There's a greater sense of appreciation for having this opportunity, especially when the world shut down for the last 2.5 years. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity. And as you know, Istanbul and Turkey itself is filled with so much of literary and poetic history, so much of Islamic history. So I'm very glad to. It's not my first occasion, but we're here as a family. So for the younger generation, it's quite a thrill. They're very receptive to learning and enjoying the experience.
Yes, obviously it's a very, very different trip, from what one would go for a vacation or a holiday. And being on a literary trip, and for you, it is your area of expertise, and I know you love it. It's a passion that you have. And just take us through, what you've experienced so far, some of the highlights of being on a poetic and a literary trip.
Well, I think my whole life is sort of zoned in on poetry and literature. This is what I've chosen. And when you do what you love, I think that's half your journey one to success. So in my case, whether it's a vacation or a family trip or it's always going to have a literary bent. It's always going to have a poetic bent. It's impossible to travel through the world and not see the poetry of the world. But in particular, Istanbul holds reference because there are many contemporary writers like Orhan Pamuk, who's won the Nobel Literary Prize, and Alif Shafak. Everyone's familiar with Alif Shafak's 40 Rules of Love, the fictionalized story of the meeting of Mevlana Rumi and Shamsuddin Tabriz. So there's those elements of poetry that reach back. And the Western world, while the Western world has really taken on the poetry of Rumi as a spiritual dimension, remember that Mevlana Rumi's works are, his entire Masnavi is based on his interpretation of the Quran, his tafsir of the Quran. So there's a strong religious dimension. And sometimes we make the mistake of thinking that Sufism is separated from the full tenets of Islam. But anything could be, nothing could be further from the truth. It's actually mysticism and, the jurisprudence of Islam are very, very much linked. And so I think that it's beautiful that Rumi is speaking to such a wide audience, and you see it. You see it here. Istanbul is full. Everywhere we go, we're now on a road trip. I'm currently in Antalya. We're off to Konya tomorrow. It's incredibly, incredibly full wherever you go. And there's deep reverence for the saints. So Alhamdulillah for the experience, both literary, contemporary literary, and spiritual poetry.
Yes, obviously it's extremely deep in terms of what you are describing, and for someone like yourself, you would obviously appreciate, what you are experiencing at this point in time. What has stood out for you so far?
Definitely. I mean, I think that engaging in this kind of poetry while you're reading the Quran, while you're understanding what it means to be Muslim or a spiritual being for that matter, enhances your growth without a doubt, because the main message is connecting with fellow humanity, with your own humanity, with being kind, with being compassionate towards fellow human beings. But at the same time, it's also about your closeness to the Almighty. If you enhance yourself and your soul, if you let go of your lower desires and give, extra sort of presence to your higher self, to the needs of your higher self, then without doubt you're returning to source in a more glorified way. You are enhancing your closeness in your relationship with Almighty Allah. And so there's a method to the whole journey of understanding the lifelong poetry and the kind of contributions that Mevlana Rumi has made to world poetry and to world spirituality as well.
Well, I quite like what you are saying, Shafinas, because it gives you the ability, the opportunity to introspect, to look
Sure.
within yourself. And as you are being exposed to the literature, as you are being exposed to the poetry, but you can look deep within yourself and say, who am I? Where have I come from? Where do I want to go? And for me, these are extremely valuable lessons that one can actually
Absolutely.
take from a
Absolutely.
journey like this.
We can't go through life not having introspected. And even if you think that you can live in a bubble, something's going to impact on you. Even loneliness, if you live in a bubble, will impact on you. Being surrounded by people will impact on you. And so we don't live in exclusion of anyone else, and those realizations help you to reach out and grow as a soul, as a human being, as a person. There's a saying that says, if you haven't changed in 30 years, then you haven't really lived. And no one ever wants to go through life not having experienced some alteration in their being, whichever way, dark or light. So we hope for that. And the other thing about the literary experience of Turkey is, I mentioned Orhan Pamuk and Elif Shafak. There's something that is definitely very spiritual about their writing as well, in their own way. So 40 Rules of Love is written in a contemporary way. Yes, it takes the deeper spiritual meaning into a more colloquial, contemporary understanding. But you'll find people now lifting out the sayings, which are really inspired by the Divane Shams of Tabriz and the Mathnavi and various of Mevlana Rumi's writings, and written in sort of like a sort of, bite-sized, understandable bits, which have such wide global appeal, that has made the 40 Rules of Love an extensively well-read book, well sort of received book. And then Orhan Pamuk is a bit more of dark writing. He writes a lot about Istanbul, but specifically, I loved his Museum of Innocence, because imagine a writer who has written the Museum of Innocence about his protagonist and what his protagonist goes through on his day-to-day in Istanbul. But he's created a museum in Istanbul which is dedicated to this book and this Museum of Innocence. You can visit it and you can like sort of walk through and experience the novel. And for me, that was fantastic. Like, another way. You often hear of novels that are turned into movies or plays, but to hear a novel, sort of in 3D, in a next dimension, in the form of a building that's like so experiential, is another fascinating experience for me. So I'm thoroughly enjoying the experience here. Yeah.
Well, I can see you are thoroughly enjoying this experience, and I'm sure there's still going to be a lot more, and the richness that you feel within yourself in terms of enhancing what your passion is and taking it to another level completely. And for me, I'm sure that is something that you're going to be benefiting from, and also going into the future in terms of your own personal writings, in terms of your own views, in terms of your outlook. This is going to add just so much value in your life, Shafinas.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to chat to your audience as well. And don't forget to watch, even though I'm not around, there's an experiential video on Book Bites this weekend, and it will have some of my experiences laid out there as well. So I hope they enjoy.
Well, certainly looking forward to it, and enjoy the rest of your trip as well. And Allah make it easy. Allah keep you safe as well. And yeah, looking forward to your safe return, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair. Best wishes to everyone at Salam Media and the audience. And Jazakallah khair for having me on your show, brother.
Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yes, Shafinaaz Hassim with us, and on this literary and poetic tour, and such an enriching experience. Really wonderful that we have people like Shafinaaz in this country who have a passion for for poetry, and for literary work, and especially about the literary genius that she has been talking about, the museum, and such a wonderful, such an enriching experience. And with that, we're going to be signing off, and inshallah, we'll be back with you next week. But for now, have yourself a wonderful day, a great Jummah ahead, inshallah. So from myself and the team, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.